Who's going what?
Sensational Saturday. Welcome, welcome once again to another exciting edition of the D Word. This is Shirley Almonte with my co host Carolina Denhard, family law, divorce law, and also international law attorney. Well, you know that here in the D Word, we always bring exciting guests who can actually bring more value to our lives as we go through many life transitions. And what makes our next guest different is because he is actually a divorce coach who works beautifully with divorce attorneys out there. And so, what's really amazing also about Jason is that he um, partners beautifully with anybody, all medical, not, why did I say medical? All divorce professionals that may be involved in people going through this life-changing experience. And he used to be a lawyer. And I'm very interested to know why he made that switch and how is it different now. But first of all, I know that Carolina actually knows Jason from way back when, right? So first of all, before we introduce Jason, Carolina, say a few words.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining another episode of the D Word. So, yes, Jason and I are both divorce attorneys. Jason decided to take stage left, and I decided to go to stage right. Over a decade ago, we met. We worked, I think, briefly for the same law firm, or right after I left Jason, you started working for the Morris County law firm. And we both had a passion for the law. We both wanted to help people transition when life throws a curveball. We both understand that divorce is the death of a relationship, and we both understand that with that death comes all sorts of complicated situations, emotionally, financially, personally, your self-worth. But most importantly, we both understand that it's a process that's unknown to people. You don't know what a divorce will be until you go through your divorce. And one of the most amazing resources that we as divorce litigators have is people like Jason, who dub themselves as divorce coaches. Coaching is a word that has a lot of connotations, but what it means is to have somebody in your corner to help you become a better version of who you are. And many times people ask, well, if I have you, Carolina, why do I need a divorce coach? Well, my first response is financially. Jason is much more affordable than a divorce attorney. He also focuses on getting you through the journey while I may be busy plotting the litigation route. So credit to Jason and thankfulness on my end. He joined the Divorce Dynasty platform most recently, and we are looking to triage each case, take a look at each case and see where Jason plugs in to help people that, quite frankly, are overwhelmed, scared, and lost. So, Jason, welcome to our show. I'd love for you to start with telling everybody how you made the stage left transition and how you decided to go into coaching rather than litigation.
Well, hi, everybody, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Caroline, I love how you say stage left. It's actually the title of my favorite music album, Exit Stage Left. But it's kind of like the story of my life. No, so listen, as Carolina said, we go way back. From the beginning of our legal careers, really. And we've taken different directions. And so how I got to this point in my life is kind of crazy. I could talk to it for an hour, but I'll give you the short of it all. I remember it like it was yesterday, really. So I became an attorney purposefully to become a divorce attorney. Like that was my intent, right? And I remember when I went to law school and I told people that's what I was doing, other attorneys thought I was crazy and I didn't know what they were talking about. And then I started practicing in divorce law for a few years. And then I kind of realized what they were talking about. But the reason I left practicing divorce law is very specific. I just didn't feel like I was helping in the way I originally wanted to. And that's due to a lot of factors, just the way the system works, the litigation process. And, there was one specific a case. I remembered I was working it and there was a big custody issue. I represented, I believe, the wife at the time, and the husband had a different attorney, of course, and one young child. And the whole custody issue came down to who was going to pick up this child on a Saturday morning, right? And the parties were stuck over 1 hour between 11 or 12 o'clock. I kid you not. And I was spending hours hours with the other attorney, and I actually got along with this other attorney, the husband's attorney, and it was our clients that were giving us the problem, and nobody was going to budge. And they're spending thousands of dollars on who's going to pick up, the little girl on a Saturday morning. And so that was the moment. I remember I hung up the phone, getting off the phone with my client, and I literally put my hands up in the air and I said, "That's it." I said, "I can't do this. This is not the way it's supposed to work." And that's when this idea came to my mind to help people in a different way. How could I still be in the divorce world, but help people in a different way? Because I saw the need. And so that's where the coach idea became born, right? And so
how would you say that you are different than who you were when you were wearing the litigator hat?
So what I do differently now is I don't represent anybody directly in their divorce as their attorney. I don't do that. I serve as their coach. So that means I don't go to court with you. I'm not on any papers you file. I work with a lot of people who have attorneys, and I work with people who don't. But I'm a supplement. And as a coach, what makes me different than other people who call themselves coaches out there? A lot of people call themselves coaches. But what makes me different is that I'm also an attorney. And so I coach from an attorney's point of view. And that's a different angle than what other coaches do. So not only do I help counsel and guide people through the emotional stages and make sure that they're keeping their head on straight and, coping healthy and being on the straight and narrow emotionally, I also help guide them legally and tell them what to think about, tell them what their attorney wants them to know and what their attorney wants them to do. So when they do speak with their attorney, they're better prepared, more knowledgeable, and well ahead of the game, and it makes the process go so much more smooth.
What if you don't actually speak to the attorney that represents client's name? Let's call her Nancy. And what if your philosophy or your approach, your interpretation of the law, or how you would address an issue differs from that attorney? How do you reconcile client coming back to you and saying, "Well, my attorney said X, you're saying Y"? How do you avoid those types of situations?
That's a great question, Carolina. And my answer to that is I'm never going to override an attorney, right? You have an attorney, we'll call her Nancy, and I don't know Nancy because let's say she works in a different state than New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey. I work with people all over the country. I'm always going to tell you, defer to what your attorney is saying. However, I will give them food for thought, different ideas, questions that they want to ask their attorney to help them feel better about what their attorney is doing. It's amazing how often the client is in the dark because they're not communicating well with their attorney for whatever reason. They don't know what the strategy is. They don't know why their case is, not moving in their opinion. And they're afraid. They're actually afraid to talk to their attorney because they don't want to get billed at the hourly rate. It's amazing to me.
So true.
Actually, I could relate to that very, very much because I went through a very bad divorce many years ago. By the way, Caroline, I love the word that you used, triage, because it's almost like going to an ER and you're going through triage first to figure out what you need, who is the specialist that needs to see you. And I'm in the same way. I'm also thinking of Jason as like like a hub for all of the services that would be needed as they go through divorce. I was saying so during that time, I love the expense part of it because I went through that, and I think I made a very bad decision at one time because I was trying to save money, and I actually got an inferior attorney that ended up dragging forever instead of me being able to basically put it to a closure right away. And oftentimes, people also, and I would like you to address this, Jason, people who want to do DIY, so do it yourself, divorce. Like, I don't recommend it because obviously you need somebody to actually look out for you. But what is your role on those people who just want to go through either mediation or do it yourself divorce?
Yeah, that's a great question, Philly. And so, right. There's tons of people out there who want to do it themselves, right? The whole DIY thing. And, is it possible? Sure. Is it recommended? Not really. It takes a really special type of person with a specific type of personality to navigate the divorce. It's a complicated process. It's complicated for attorneys, and if you're not savvy enough and you don't have the time to learn the information that you need to know, you're just going to be in over your head, and it's probably not going to turn out very well. So I tell people, at the very least, you need to form your divorce team. Which Divorce Dynasty is that? And you have to have, in my opinion, a bedrock, which consists of 3 people: an attorney, a coach, and a therapist. Right? I refer to that as the trifecta of awesomeness. And then, of course, you could have more, but like, you have to have objective professionals on your side. And the key word is objective, right? Friends and family are great, but they're not the people that I'm talking about who are on your divorce team. They're there to help you and support you throughout the process. But you need people who are going to tell you the good, bad, and ugly about what's going on and help guide you so you're making the best decisions.
Furley, I always like to say that Google is not a lawyer. Google doesn't have a law degree, right? So when people go to Google, or I equate it to MD.com, I have a pain in my back, I Google, all of a sudden it's spine surgery. You need to go to someone that does this day in and day out, that understands not only the law, but the application of the law, and how the law, which is malleable and gray, how it could serve to help you and your situation. My divorce is different than my neighbor. It's different than yours. It's different than the guy down the street. Yes, it's divorce, but the facts could not be more different. Even though we might have a house, children, a car, and a dog, it's still very unique to the 2 people. And the other thing is, you said the word mediation. I want people to understand that the most complicated of cases sometimes end up in mediation. We as lawyers, we don't automatically run to court and go to trial. There's a lot that happens between retaining an attorney and coming to a point in your case where you just cannot agree, and you need a judge to make a call. There's a whole lifetime in between. So going to mediation often involves having 2 lawyers, you and your spouse, having a job coach on the line, having a therapist supporting you, and having this neutral mediator help guide. Neutral mediator, not advocating for anybody, but helping to break down the acrimony. So I don't want people thinking that if you get a lawyer, all of a sudden it's the War of the Roses. That's not at all. That's not at all what it is. There's a lot of options and choices along the way. But something Jason said is very true, and that is, you need your team. I have people coming in to consult with me that are a year or 2 away from being strong enough to file for divorce. That does not mean you sit and do nothing and continue to have angst and psychological breakdown and physical, maybe, trauma in your household. You have to start preparing. You start working with Jason. You start working with people like yourself, Furley. You get your insurances in order. You have to prepare. Divorce is not just a light switch. The decision is a light switch, but the process is a journey. And I think, Jason, your point is excellent, that it really is something that you have to triage in the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah, I think preparation is the most important part of the whole process, in my opinion. If you prepare properly, and that includes the time before you even maybe hire an attorney or find the right attorney for you, because finding the right attorney for your divorce is so important too. If you find the wrong attorney and then midstream you have to change, well, that could be a very costly and time-consuming mistake that you don't want to make. So preparation, when time is on your side, before anything's filed in court, like, that's the time where you need to take advantage of it and, form your divorce team and just prepare, and that'll make everything else go so much more smoothly.
This is a question for both of you. Jason first. What would you advise people who are looking for an attorney? Like, what qualities do they need to find in an attorney in being able to best represent them?
Wow, great question. So the answer is, and this is such a typical attorney answer, but it depends. That's right. Because, like Carolina said, every divorce is different, right? So I always tell people who I talk to, and they say, oh, my neighbor or my friend's divorce, they got X, Y, and Z, and it went. I said, forget what your neighbor or your friend got. It doesn't matter at all. And so I always analogize it as a divorce is like a snowflake, right? Everyone is different. I don't care how similar, your lifestyle is, how similar. It's just different. So your attorney has to be very specifically chosen for your needs. Okay, there's a lot of different types of attorneys out there. You have your stereotypical bulldog attorney, right, who is just going to file in court, litigate everything, and doesn't really want to resolve anything amicably. There are certain situations that may call for such an attorney like that, but not every divorce requires that. And that, if you have a divorce situation where, maybe both sides are kind of amicable, they can communicate with each other, they are just interested in, getting divorced and moving on and not fighting over everything, well, then perhaps a bulldog attorney is not right for you, and they are going to steer you the wrong way. And it's going to make the process go longer and a lot more expensive for you. So choosing the right attorney is important. You want somebody, obviously, who knows what they're doing, so has experience, right? Somebody you could afford, of course. And like when you go on an attorney consultation, my advice is always to go on a few different consultations, because you have to get along with this person. They are not only your attorney, but they have to have the same approach as you as to how to resolve disputes, right, when they arise. You want to be on the same page strategically, and you want to be able to get along with them. And because if you don't, then you're not going to communicate well. You're going to butt heads. And listen, when you're going through a contested divorce, you're going through enough stress as it is. The last thing you need to worry about is your relationship with your attorney.
Yeah,
Yes,
and, you know,
thank you for
and
that, Carolina.
I'll pick up right where Jason left off. I tell my clients all the time that while you are exiting your relationship, which is your marriage, you're starting a new relationship with me, your attorney, and that relationship has to work. If you meet me and there's no connection, we don't click, you don't feel comfortable, then I'm going to suggest to you I'm not your person, because you have to talk to me, trust me, be in touch with me, take my guidance. I'm going to say things that you may not want to hear. I'm going to have to explain positions that may be very tough to understand. So there has to be that connection in the very beginning. I also suggest to all my clients, come prepared to interview me. Not that I'm interviewing you about your case, but what do you want to know about me? Do you want to know if I've handled cases like this? Do you want to know how I would handle a situation, court or mediation or otherwise? How do I bill? Do I charge you for texting when you're texting me at 3 o'clock in the morning because you're having a nervous meltdown? How do I analyze the statute for alimony and custody? How do I deal with grandparents? How do I deal with significant others? How do I deal with your kids maybe moving out of state? Interview me. Listen to what I'm saying. Secondarily, meet my team. If I work for a big firm, I have other lawyers I work with. I pull them in for their different strengths. So you insist on meeting the other team members. You need to know who your new entourage is going to be. Ask questions about what experts I'm going to use. Obviously, anybody that comes to see me knows I run the Divorce Dynasty platform. One of the questions I get is, well, do I have to use that financial planner? No, you don't. I will introduce you to my circle. You will also interview them, but ultimately it's your life. So I like to put the empowerment back in the person. Oftentimes people feel that they are in the disadvantaged seat because, oh, I'm the big lawyer. No, it is your life. It is your journey. You put me in the hot seat, and that's most important.
Let me just
love that.
Furley, let me just follow that up real quick, because
yes.
that was great. And I got to just add to it. I mean, 100% on point, Carolina. And then, so the whole point of what we're talking about here, Furley, is empowering people, right? The client, right? We work for the client, but they need to feel empowered. And right, a lot of times they're intimidated by other attorneys or anybody on their team who they are hiring to help them. But my role, and the way I see it as the coach, is I'm here to empower you with the information that I think you need to know so you can help make those best decisions for your life. So when you communicate with your attorney, you feel good about what is going on. You can ask the right questions. I've written an article with a base list of questions that you should ask in every divorce consultation, right, for people, because they don't even know that.
Right.
And so those are the types of things. It's about giving people the information so they feel empowered to feel confident to ask questions, the right questions, and know what they need to know to move forward.
I love, first of all, Carolina, I love what you just shared, that interview different attorneys so you'd know who you can gel with. And of course, Jason, as I'm listening to both of you, I feel like, okay, first of all, if one is like almost like an interviewing process, also the dating, right? In the meantime, also Jason could be a matchmaker, matchmaker for different resources. And I said like, oh, that's awesome, because now you have somebody on your side that can look at you from a personal standpoint. Like, obviously we have different personalities, we have different needs, and you'll be able to like an orchestra conductor, basically you are able to partner them with the right instrument. And then, of course, Carolina, one of the things I love, love, love about you and your style is the fact that besides you being first of all, highly competent, and because like I know yet you graduated third in your class, you're and you're also very involved in the community, and you serve with a heart. Because I've known that in the midst of this pandemic, you are consulting virtually, for free. And I mean, you don't see that at all, and it's wonderful when you're actually around people who actually are very service driven and passion filled. And just like you, Jason, I love the fact that you have also find a special niche in your life and in your career to be able to serve in your unique Jasonicious way. so so I'm just saying, like, I love that you are also servicing from a very, very unique standpoint. Carolina, do you have any question for Jason?
So one of the things that clients hate the most, Jason, is the case information statements and, putting their documents together. Obviously, they hate to pay a lawyer at our rate to do that. Often our paralegals become involved. But do you actually help with that aspect of the case as well?
Absolutely. I remember, when I was practicing, I would spend hours with people helping them fill that out, right? Because it's so important to fill it out competently and precisely and thoroughly. So, and it's overwhelming. Like, people, how many times have you given the case information statement to a client and they look, okay, and then you're like, have you done it? And they're like, no, I haven't even started. Right? So,
and so
I do.
Just for those listening, the case information statement is really one of the most important documents you're going to fill out in your divorce, because it identifies your income, your cash flow, your assets, your liabilities. And quite frankly, and Furley, I go through this once a quarter with my own cash flow and spending. We don't know what we're spending. We swipe our debit cards. We don't even know, right? So when it's time for divorce and you need to identify what the income available is for the family, it's a process and it's overwhelming. So Jason, please continue. I like the fact that they have somebody like you that is able to break it down and maybe give them a roadmap to complete that document.
Yeah, I absolutely help walk them through doing all that, because as an attorney who's done it, I know how it should be done. And so I guide them, I work with them, and that is something that they can work with me directly on, as their coach. Absolutely. Filling out documents, giving the attorney the information that the attorney needs. So when the attorney needs it, it's all there, and then the attorney can do what they need to do with it. As opposed to, fixing it all together and just spending all that time, that they could be better using elsewhere.
And you also, if somebody receives a set of interrogatories to answer or any other documents, Jason, you will sit down with the client and you will also help coach them through that?
I could do that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Jason,
So
this is the right client for you. Like, who is the, many people right now are watching, right? And now many of them are also could be contemplating on divorce. Describe the right type of client that will work with you.
Okay, so my ideal client, the person that I could help the most, is somebody who is in the preparation stage, right? Where nothing has happened yet, nothing has been filed with the court. Maybe they have just mentally and emotionally decided they're ready for divorce. That's the perfect time, because time is on your side. So I can start with you from the beginning to help prepare for what's coming ahead, right? Even if you don't have an attorney, I can help you find the right attorney for your situation. But even if the process has already started and you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do, you have questions, you're uncomfortable for whatever reason with the current attorney you may already have, it doesn't matter where you are in the process. I can help wherever you are, because I just jump right in, figure out what's going on, and then we just take it one step at a time, right? And I help you move forward. I help you get back on track. And I'm your coach. I'm your advocate. And I'm here to help you and your team move forward.
Do you get paid like with a flat fee or per session, or what? How do you get paid?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So when I became a coach, I decided I needed to do it in a way that separates me from a typical attorney, right? Typical attorneys charge on an hourly rate. That's just the way it is. So as a coach, all my services are flat fee based, right? Because I want people to know that when they hire me, they know what they're going to get. It's going to cost X, and they're getting this much of coaching from me, which includes X, Y, and Z, right? So when they contact me, I don't want them, if they're hesitant about contacting their attorney for whatever reason, which they shouldn't be, but if they are, I don't want them to have that same hesitation contacting me. So I purposely don't do it so it's at an hourly rate. So you know what you're getting, and I'm here when you need me.
Virtual?
Oh, yeah.
So, for anyone out there right now who would love to speak with you and consult with you, how do they reach you?
So the first step, you can go to my website, jasonlevoy.com, and you can learn about me and my services there. Or you can just email me, jason@jasonlevoy.com, and I will get it.
Okay. And before we close, okay, first of all, we always give our guests a chance to share 3 tips that people can basically apply to their lives if they're thinking of going through a divorce before they get to you. What's your advice? Actually, you and Carolina can answer this.
Jason, your top 3.
My top 3, I start preparing, start thinking, and making note. Think about what type of divorce is this going to be, because you have a good idea whether you think so or not. Right? Nobody knows your situation better than you. Is it going to be an amicable divorce? Does it have the potential to be an amicable divorce? Is it going to be a knockout, drag out fight? These are things that you need to kind of get a glimpse of now, if you haven't started the process yet. So that's number 1. Start thinking about it. Number 2, start preparing. It's never too early. And what documents can you get right now? Quietly, inconspicuously. Start gathering things that you think you're going to need when you do hire an attorney or when the process does start. Because I always say, when it hits the fan, right, Caroline? When it hits the fan, you might find yourself locked out of all the accounts. You're not going to have access to anything. That's assuming you even have access now. One of my biggest tips is, if you can now, and you don't know, a lot of people don't even know what accounts they have because they don't handle that in the day-to-day, business of the marriage. Usually it's one spouse that handles the accounts, the finances, and the other spouse isn't really involved. So if you're the not involved spouse, start getting involved. Start learning what you have, if you have access to it, great. Make sure, then start gathering documents right now. And as a coach, I help you do all that. I'll tell you what you should gather. I'll tell you what you should be looking for. And you start making a divorce binder, right? My best client ever when I was practicing came in the first meeting after I was retained with a 3-ring binder, fully tabbed with everything we needed. Everything. I just, I could fill out the CIS, in 15 minutes. And she was the best. Why? Because she gave me everything I wanted already. And that saved her money in the long run too. But being organized, get organized, create folders. If you're not organized now, it's very important to be organized so you know where things are when you need them. You don't want to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to find things, when it hits the fan. All right. How many tips is that?
Yeah, that's a lot. Thank you very, very much for that, Carolina.
So, the 4 corners of Divorce Dynasty are prepare, protect, partner, prosper, right? You can't prepare without knowing what you're preparing for. So I always go back to my divorce and the impetus for the Divorce Dynasty platform. I was an educated woman. I felt I was very involved in my marriage. Turns out when divorce came, I don't know anything about anything. So I don't care how prepared you think you are. When you don't know what you're preparing for, you can't gauge that. So you need to come speak to Jason or myself or the attorney of your choice to tell you what you need to prepare for. Then you actually do the homework and start preparing. Importantly, 3rd step is to partner with the right people. Divorce Dynasty, to Jason's point, is a triage, right? You can talk to a realtor about the home value. You could talk to Jimmy Joseph about running your credit score. You could talk to Tim Gray, the private investigator, about are there accounts in your name you don't know about, so on and so forth. And then when you have done all that thoroughly, you prepared, you protected yourself, you partnered with the right people, you will prosper, because you will not be able to prosper if you don't follow a formula. Everything in life is formulaic. Everything. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. So unless you get all those 4 pillars in place, you're not going to have a great experience. And you know what that leads to, Furley? What you said before. You then have to undo it post-judgment. And oftentimes that is more expensive and hurtful than before, because here you thought it was over. You thought your life was beginning. You have a new fresh page, and you go right back to court because your agreement is poorly written. There are issues that are unaddressed, and now the battle continues.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I love the four pillars of a divorce dynasty, actually, right? Say that again: prepare,
Prepare, protect, partner to
partner,
prosper.
for prosper. Oh my goodness. By the way, before we go, Carolina, we're still here in the midst of a pandemic. What is the scene like for people who are going through divorce?
You know what, initially we were seeing an uprise in domestic violence, and people really coming to that point in their lives where they realize that even if they're not getting hit, they're psychologically being battered in one way or another, unhappy, and they're pursuing divorce. That's now stabilized a little bit from what we're seeing in our practice. What I'm seeing now is applications for modification of support in post-judgment matters. People lost their jobs, they're furloughed, they don't know if they're going back, their hours are cut. Is the court going to treat this as a temporary setback? Or under LEPIS, is it going to be a permanent change in circumstance? So a lot of people are coming forward saying, I can't afford to pay what I either voluntarily agreed to pay or a court ordered me to pay. So I see Jason getting a lot of case information statement work in his future, because one of the most important things in those applications is your ability to pay and your cash flow. So people are hurting financially, Furley, and they're trying to think about how they can resolve that. My first approach to them is talk to your ex-spouse. See if we could come up with a consent order. See if we could do something in the interim. Let's try to get along. Even if your divorce was horrendous, let's see if we could try to get along. Court should always be the last option. It's expensive.
Oh my goodness. Actually, that is a very powerful information, because I'm sure so many people are going through that right now, because so many people are losing jobs, right? Like in the
Yeah.
meantime, so, like you end up getting paralyzed and ashamed, right? And so I like the fact that like people can go to a divorce coach or a divorce attorney to be able to resolve it in the most kind and respectful and amicable way, without further causing stress, right? And
Yeah.
so that was beautiful. Jason, I'd love you to repeat how they can reach to you, so that I'm sure that they'll be able to go to you for triage, so you can, send them to the right attorney. Hopefully Carolina and her team, because she has like 60 attorneys, right? Oh my goodness. I've met a couple of them, and I am very, very impressed of how beautiful they are, and how not only beautiful in heart, but they're very, very competent, and also high powered, and truly very committed. The Divorce Dynasty platform is dazzling, and very empowering in so many different ways. And when you're looking at the finest there is, look no further, because the Divorce Dynasty is there. And if you ever want to also partner with us and bring value to people's lives, please reach out to us, because we are always looking for incredible partners who will bring value to people's lives as they go through many life transitions, right?
Absolutely. And I just got to say, one of the great things about Divorce Dynasty is that people oftentimes don't know where to start to even find people, to find an attorney. That's one of the most common questions I get is, how do I even look for an attorney? And so Divorce Dynasty, no matter who you're looking for to add to your divorce team, there's a start right there, right? Because there's somebody who does whatever you need to do, who's part of the Divorce Dynasty team. It's a network, and it's a network of people there to support you. So it's beautiful. It's a great thing, and that's where you should start.
And I'm a proud member. Oh my goodness.
You both are. This is wonderful. How blessed am I?
Right. Like I'm very, very happy, and I often brag about the kind of people that we have in our circle. What a beautiful thing! It's like us being able to bless others with our zones of geniuses. It's really a great privilege. Jason, you also have a podcast, yes?
I do. Yes, the Divorce Resource Guy podcast.
Okay, that's beautiful. Like if you want to invite people to also watch our podcast, please take this moment to invite them.
Yeah, Carolina, you still need to
Yes, I'm gonna register. I can't wait to be on it, and I'd love for Jason to interview some of our other members of the Divorce Dynasty platform, so people could start putting the dots together of how this all works. You know, sometimes clients come to me and they tell me they've been working with my Divorce Dynasty team. I don't even know about it because people are just out there working, and then 6 months goes by and they're finally coming to me saying, "I'm now ready." So it's a beautiful dynamic. It really is.
Oh my goodness, what a blessing it is. Well, wasn't this fantastic? I am telling you, every Saturday morning at 11 a.m., we always empower you with fresh knowledge, ways that you can move through life with resilience. Well, until next time, this is Furley Almonte with Caroline.
Caroline Denhard. Nice to be here, everybody. And Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to working with you through the Divorce Dynasty platform. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. I love to be
Take
here.
care, stay well, stay healthy, and stay safe. Until then, bye bye.